how great you guys pitted me at the Worlds.
Yeah, hey,
ran me out of gas. You fucked me. It's $50 right there.
Place, so. Okay. On the fuel guns, you really only fuel this up just a minute or two before you bring the car in, because these things are going to leak no matter who makes it. And the way you do it, you should actually use your fuel bottle.
Just turn that thing around so you can see the off on it.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
NASCAR
Can we get a close-up on that? Yeah, so you'd fill your fuel bottle first, then you fuel the fuel gun with the fuel bottle. Make sure you have the cap on, because if you don't...
It's not pressurized or something?
Yeah, it's not. Okay. What happens is if you don't have the cap on, when you pull this, the way it works is the car comes in, open the lid, drop this in, make sure that the nipple is down inside the tank, because when the fuel level comes up and hits the fuel gun, it'll stop flowing fuel. If you don't have this cap on the top, it'll just keep blowing fuel out all over the place. And actually, this is what happens when you overfill someone's car.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? That's my favorite picture.
I
see this all the time.
I could throw in some exclamations
on
that.
What's my temperature?
That's right.
So yeah, make sure you have that cap on. But yeah, it's just basic. Car comes in, pick it up off the track, drop it in, drop the fuel. As soon as the fuel stops, release, pull it out, and off you go. So that's how you fuse the fuel gun. Oh, you know what? There was something else. I got props.
Oh.
Did we have another question?
Someone actually cares.
What differential setup are you using? Yeah, Jeremy's sick today, so we have to be a little easy on him. What differentials would you... how would you set up your differentials at Revelation?
At Revelation, I've been running 5.63 there, but since I have this new Spider diff, I'll be running 5 Spider and then 3. The Spider diff, I'll probably put in 5,000 Kyosho weight oil. That's what I run in my diffs. But I run usually a little bit thicker there, just because sometimes the track's up maybe a hair loose, but I want that 4-wheel drive out of the corner, so I can actually burp it, spin it a little loose and then gas it, and then I'm good. So, but no, I'd run that. Thanks for the question.
And then X Customs wants to know what diff oils and springs you would use for the same. Oh, for probably the bumpy track conditions. Normally for a bumpy track condition, you would go larger on the piston oil. Or no, I'm sorry, larger on the piston hole.
Yeah, well, it depends on the track and what kind of bumps they are. I mean, it's kind of hard to say on a bumpy track you want to run this piston or this, that. I just like the way the car hits the bumps. I mean, if you're running a bumpy track at low speed, then the car's going to bounce a lot more. But if you're running a bumpy track on high speed, the car's going to hit each bump like a whoop. So you're going to hit it differently. So that's what I'm saying. If the car's, like, let's say, on a low track, and you feel like every time you hit a bump it's just reacting, that means you're too soft on the damp, and you go to maybe a smaller hole with the same shock oil and see what that does. But then if you go on a big track and you feel like every time you hit a bump it feels like it's like stiff, well then go to maybe a hair bigger hole with the or shock hole with a little bit thicker oil and see what that does with the dampening, because it makes the shock act differently when you go to a different hole to a different oil. The combination of both, it's pack and rebound. So that's the key to everyone's trying to practice on.
Yeah, and even the temperature will affect it quite a bit. So
yeah, at Hot Rod, for example, when we're there, we first get there, we run usually 2.5 weight thicker oil during the day because it's hotter. But then at nighttime, Chad and I are always changing, going down our front and rear shock oil because it's a lot colder there. So we end up going, we're always changing our shock oil constantly in the cars. We change our shock oil more than we do our diff oils because I think that's the bigger key to the car.
Yeah,
I think the diff oil is just mostly for steering, acceleration, how you feel the car is going to react to your trigger. But then the shock is where the hand in the car, I think, really comes in. The shock, tires, and wing. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, y'all had a question.
Oh.
He wants to know what's up with the Boy Scout uniform.
You like that? Hey, y'all, don't be mad. Don't be mad because I look this good. Sick.
I think y'all kind of like the Boy Scout outfit.
I'd like to give a shout out to y'all. We're leaving here in a couple weeks, going to Australia for a week. Thanks to Dave.
Shout out stuff.
Thanks to Dave taking care of y'all, flying us out here. I'd like to thank you to Dave taking care of all that. Let's go to Australia on his dime. Thank Team Offna, Dave, very much. Thank you.
Dave, our producer.
Yeah.
Who started the show late.
Thanks.
Technical difficulty. Forgot to plug something in.
So.
Speaking of springs and shocks, something I did this week. I didn't even show you. I've got a new spring chart rating the Jammin and associated springs. If you go to nitrohouse.com, if you go to any of the Jam and Shocks, any of the Jam and Shock springs or the associated shock springs, there'll be a chart down at the bottom that'll show you. It'll rate all the springs in order. In fact, I found a rating problem with one of the Jam and Shocks, so I got that fixed. But yeah, if you go on there, you'll see the rating in Newton meters or foot pounds. So yeah, you want to check that out.
Why'd you do Jammin' and Associated? Why Associated?
Associated has 16 millimeter shock springs also, and
so they fit the Jammin'?
There's a lot of people actually running the Jammin' springs on the Associated, and a lot of the Associated springs fall in between the Jammin'. So actually, we've got a bigger range of springs now that we can choose from.
Yeah. Most people ask, why do I run Jammin' shocks on my car? The reason why is because when we first had the Hobao shocks, they were changing from the smaller shocks to the bigger shocks. I didn't have enough time to test them. And with Bradley and I, our cars are really similar in weight distributions and stuff. And so I decided to go with what he was doing. And him and I are really within always 2.5 weight of each other in the same piston holes and stuff. So that's the reason why I run the Jammin' shocks. It wasn't because I think they're any better or any worse. It's just because at the time, that's all the information I had on them. So I will be testing our new bigger shocks more and more. I've tested them. I like them a lot. But like I said, it's really hard to figure out on a track when you're racing with the Hobao shocks and you're the only one running them versus, let's say, Chad and Taylor James that have the Jammin'. And like I said, we're always within the same on the shocks. So that's the only reason why I run them.
And RC Zach has another question. He was asking, do you ever use an aftermarket cooling head?
No, I run a For Works motor, and I run the stock cooling head. For a while, we had some heads made by Ferroni, which I have. I run that head. It's a little bit heavier. It's about 15 grams heavier than the stock Works head, but it's made out of a different billet aluminum, so it cools a lot better on a hot summer day. So that's the only reason. I basically run a stock head until I have to change.
So,
what about you? Don't you run the Pico motor with the Pico slant head?
Yeah, just the stock head. I played around with the slant head.
You notice any difference with that slanted head, heat-wise?
No, just in the looks more than anything else.
Yeah.
But I don't think the slant head's not available yet, so I kind of stopped running that because everybody wanted it.
Yeah, I tried to make a slanted head one time, and Tim gave me some dimensions, and it didn't turn out too well. So I just ended up running the stock one. But like on my car, I run the 20-degree motor mounts instead of 25 degrees, which hopefully I'll have the 20 degrees as long as people keep bugging them for them. But I end up running the 20-degree motor mounts, and I think it makes a big difference in the way the weight distribution is in the car. So if you guys need to know that, try that motor mount.
And then back to the shocks. Y'all had another question. What about the 17 millimeters? I think you already said that you were planning on testing that, but you haven't even seen this yet. We just got this yesterday.
Or one-piece shock.
Yeah, it's aluminum, new aluminum shock cap for the 17 millimeter.
See, y'all? Check this out, y'all. Aluminum shock cap. That's the only thing you were complaining about. Bitching about was the shock cap. That was the only complaint I had to our shocks was the aluminum shock cap.
Yeah, so there it is, y'all. That's the new, looks like a trash can lid to me.
Wow. I think it actually looks pretty bitchin'.
Yeah, it's got a rubber mount on it.
Oh, wow.
So
that's next level. How many of those you get?
I actually got a whole bag full, so we have enough for you. Maybe even have enough for